Welcome to Zolder in Belgium for another dramatic weekend of Caterham racing. We're going to have a look at the mega graduates and the super graduates later on, but we'll start with the Avon Tyres Caterham Supersport Championship. And the man that's been in great form all season so far is James Maclachlan. He took 2 wins at Silverstone and 2 at Castle Combe, whereas other drivers found themselves rather in the wars in Wiltshire. But James Maclachlan came through to score victory in the first race. At the start of race 2, though, he got himself bogged down on the grid and went nowhere, while Paul Begley went straight on at Tower and headbutted the tyres. Maclachlan did get going, he battled his way to the front, and even though he was on the grass on the last corner of the last lap, he came across the line to maintain the 100% winning record. He leads the championship, coming to Zolder, ahead of Ian Forsyth and Rod Arnold, Paul Begley 4th ahead of Nathan Lindop, and then Rob Smith in 6th. Nathan Lindop lining up 2nd on the grid, nearest to us, Rob Smith, the pole sitter, alongside him. And the drivers in a moment will be released to go through the first sequence of corners, the third of which will be Canal Bocht, and you've just seen what happens the other side of that on the water. So green flag shown at the back, lights go out, everybody makes a decent enough start, especially Robert Smith from pole position. He's going to lead away, but in fact Nathan Lindop drops back as they go towards the first corner. Into the left-hander then, it's Rob Smith who leads the way, but look at James Maclachlan in the blue car from the second row of the grid, unbeaten this year, and he's desperately trying to maintain this 100% record. He's 3rd at the moment. On board with Paul Begley, 2nd as he turns his way then now through the Canal Bocht right-hander and accelerates now up towards the Lucien Bianchi Bocht, the next right-hander, and then onto this very fast straight down towards the chicane. The man ahead of him is the pole man, Robert Smith, now in the slipstream. Paul Begley from the second row of the grid might just get a tow here. Is that going to help him tow himself up onto the leader? No, it's not, because there goes Maclachlan. He gets up into 2nd place. He's going to pitch for the lead as well. Can't quite do it, and so Rob Smith leads the way. They turn their way through the chicane for the first time. So Robert Smith leads. James Maclachlan is in 2nd place, and Paul Begley 3rd, with a great queue of cars stacked up behind him now. Through this long, long left that takes them up towards the Gilles Villeneuve Bocht, and the leader, as he battles his way through the chicane here, is Robert Smith from pole position, but you can see the fight going on behind Paul Begley. Richard Owen in a hurry amongst others, trying to work his way up through the order, on board with Begley now. The top 2 just getting away as they turn their way down towards the Boldinger Bocht at the end of this short run downhill. And there, look, going up the inside line in number 20 is the recovering Nathan Lindop, goes 3rd, works his way past Paul Begley. They turn their way through the Jochen corner and contact. Begley goes into the back there. Slams into the rear of Nathan Lindop's car that put him off the road, and Begley lucky to avoid the barriers. So the race leader, Rob Smith, under huge pressure from James Maclachlan, but then 3rd, Nathan Lindop, recovering after his tardy start, has now got quite a bit of rear damage as he turns his way through ahead of Stephen Appleton. Here's a replay. This is what happened for Begley. First of all, he lost 3rd place coming into the corner, accelerated towards the Jochen Rindt chicane, that little left-right flick, and just misjudged it all, I think, straight into the left rear corner of Nathan Lindop's car, bounced off the road, lost another place. He's down in 5th as the new race leader is James Maclachlan. Remember, he's yet to be beaten this year. He leads Smith and then Lindop, who's losing bodywork. You're on board again with Paul Begley as they work their way up over the line. Down towards that first pretty tight left-hander, and Nathan Lindop in a hurry, still trying to gain ground if he can as they swing their way through turn 1. And there's a change for the leaders yet again. Maclachlan gets out-dragged in a straight line, and that now means that up front once again has gone Rob Smith. Nathan Lindop about to lose 3rd possibly, because round the outside of him goes Paul Begley. Really good move that. Begley goes right round the outside, takes 3rd place away. The 2 race leaders, though, in the new order of Smith ahead of Maclachlan once more, are still tied together, and this is the battle for 3rd. It could barely be closer. The yellow car is out of Paul Begley, and right on his tail is Nathan Lindop now. Onto the back straight, down towards the chicane. Paul Begley sitting in the middle of the road trying to defend from Lindop, but to no avail, because Nathan Lindop gets a tow, slipstreams his way through, out of the chicane, left and right. Use the curb there, try and shortcut the road as much as you can, and then the cars just climb uphill slightly on the way now through this left-hand curve that will take them to the Gilles Villeneuve Bocht. And Paul Begley, having lost 3rd place, also losing a length or 2 to those ahead. So the leader remains Robert Smith, but can he hang on in there as another great battle rages on lower down the order, in the midst of which in 42 there, look, is Rod Arnold. Out of the Caterham Bocht, and then this run downhill towards the Boldinger Bocht, the next tight right-hander. On board with Paul Begley, 4th at the moment, remember. The race leader from pole position is Rob Smith, and he's got James Maclachlan right on his tail. Maclachlan has looked so strong in the championship this year. Sooner or later, his winning streak must come to an end, mustn't it? Well, it may not happen just yet, because he is still there in contention for the race lead as they accelerate down towards the Jackie X-Box, the chicane, at the end of the lap. Smith leading, and Maclachlan now trying to attack for the race lead and also defend second place, because right on his tail is the man that was on the front row, Nathan Lindop. Paul Begley back up into fourth, and that now means that Stephen Appleton, who was briefly fourth, has slipped back again. So on board with Begley, the three leaders ahead of him, and he's desperately trying to make up that lost ground. He needs the tow, he needs a slipstream effect really to help him on his way to do that. Through the tight turn one, Maclachlan sandwiched in the middle of this three-car lead battle, and this is a replay of the start from Paul Begley's point of view. Ahead beneath the bridge, the lights go out, and a slow start by Nathan Lindop. Begley squeezes his way between car and wall, breathes in, gains a place, and that put him up into second place on the run down towards the first corner. But Robert Smith led then. He's down to second place now, though, because James Maclachlan has hit the front, and look, he's pulling away as Lindop's car, without the rear wheel arch on the left, tries to get up alongside Robert Smith coming out of the chicane at the Jackie X-Box. Over the line now, Maclachlan looking very strong indeed for a fifth successive win in 5 races. For second place on the inside is Smith, on the outside is Nathan Lindop, and it's Lindop that keeps the place there. Robert Smith drops back down now into third, and he might lose another place because Appleton is fourth once more at the expense of Paul Begley. James Maclachlan now, having hit the front, just gradually working his way clear of this 4-car battle that's going on for second place. A replay of Nathan Lindop's earlier attack to get himself past Robert Smith. Very nearly contact made. Smith launching himself over the curb there because he didn't have really the room to turn into the corner. But they managed to keep themselves in the same order, and this is Paul Begley's view now as he comes up towards the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. Begley hard at work, still trying to attack, still trying to defend as well. Stephen Appleton is ahead of him. Is he going to be able to make a move now as they come through the Telamenbocht? And this is the run downhill now, over the little brow, down towards the right-hander at the bottom. The Boulder-Bocht, a good outbraking opportunity if there is room. Rod Arnold there in the Wasp-like liveried car, number 42, getting onto the back of Paul Begley. So again here, Paul's trying to attack for a place and defend. He's on the tail of Stephen Appleton, who, to be fair, got a slightly quicker exit from the Boulder-Bocht and therefore pulls away by another couple of lengths in a straight line. He's getting away from Begley, who may be a bit busy here defending from Rod Arnold. Let's see what happens. They're nose to tail down to the chicane, so Rod Arnold not challenging there. He's been getting better and better in this race, and indeed in the championship this season. So now, is he going to be able to make a move on Begley as they come up over the line? The race leader, James Maclachlan, getting away as we're into the last 5 minutes of the race, although Nathan Lindop is looking as though he is still trying as hard as he can to get onto terms with the leader. Arnold, in the meantime, goes ahead of Begley. Down towards turn one, finds himself loads of room on the inside, and easily picks away past Paul Begley. Now Begley, remember, got into second place at the first corner. The race has slightly unravelled for him since then on. He's been up and down the field, but now he's dropping back, and a big spin there coming out of the last chicane means that facing the wrong way is Donald Lamb in number 17. Gets himself back in the right directions. The leader has definitely been caught now. Nathan Lindop, despite his pop start, is right there on the tail of the leader. James Maclachlan leads and then gets assaulted. Look, Nathan Lindop goes right into the back of him. Now, whether or not Maclachlan slowed or Lindop just came out of the corner too fast, it's hard to say, but the net result is that the leader has got damaged. James Maclachlan, though, is still up front, and for the last time comes into the Jackie X-Box. So it looks like it's going to be 5 in a row for the somewhat dominant James Maclachlan, despite the damage. Despite being assaulted almost within sight of the flag, Maclachlan wins at Zolder. He comes across the line to take the checkered flag and a 5th straight win of the season in 5 races. Second across the line is Nathan Lindop, who's also suffered his own damage in the course of the race. Rob Smith is 3rd and Stephen Appleton 4th. Rod Arnold just fending off Paul Begley to be 5th. So James Maclachlan, the winner, 6/10 of a second was the margin in the end, but it was a whole lot closer, 2 corners from home. Nathan Lindop 2nd and Rob Smith 3rd.
I got maybe a bit complacent towards the end. There's a bit of a gap, and then Nathan appeared from nowhere. I made a couple of mistakes, but held him off. We had a bit of contact on the last lap, and luckily we both stayed on the track, but it was a good race. It wasn't easy.
So James Maclachlan stood on the top step of the podium to celebrate a 5th successive win in the 5 rounds of the Avon Tyres Caterham Supersport Championship, but there was another race to go for the cars at Zolder, and the real question was, could he make it 6 out of 6? The race would last for just under half an hour, at the end of which we would have the answer. He made a good start, but not as good as that of Nathan Lindop, who went round the outside to bag the race lead. Rob Smith trying to follow him through, and James Maclachlan found himself in 2nd place, having to defend as they turned out of the first corner. Paul Begley was busy. He was trying to gain places and also defend as he turned his way up towards the canal box for the first time. Ahead of him, we had great battles raging on, but at the head of the field, the two race leaders were nose to tail as they made the run up towards the Lucien Bianchi box. Begley found himself on the outside and was still striving to gain a place, but he was coming under pressure as attacking on the inside was Ray Gilliland. A big squeal of tyres, though, heralded the exit of 77 into the gravel. Damien Sawyer on lap number 4 was going no further. He tried to dig his way out, but a frustrated driver realised that that was it. He wasn't the only one in trouble. Richard Irwin had a spin at the Gilles Villeneuve box. Everybody managed to avoid him, and Irwin rejoined a long way down the order. Begley, in the meantime, was still busy attacking, and ahead of him as he turned his way through turn 1 was a sideways Donald Lamb, and Lamb's moment spun him down to an eventual 11th place. But up front, it was that man again. James Maclachlan led the way as they came through the chicane. Right on his tail was Robert Smith, and the man that was on pole for the first race would shadow James Maclachlan home. Maclachlan would make it 6 out of 6 in the Avon Tyres Caterham Supersport Championship. The winning margin this time, just 0.167 of a second, with Nathan Lindop coming home in another good, solid third place. Maclachlan, though, looking so strong in the championship. No matter what anybody else tries to do, he just has the answer. 6 out of 6, a great start to his season, with Smith and Lindop rounding out the top 3, Steve Appleton, Keith Ashworth and Paul Begley the top 6.
A lot of pressure. Luckily the track was drying out. There was a little bit wet on the first left-hander, so getting the right line was pretty important, but it dried out pretty quickly and we could then sort of try for fast laps. I was defending, so it was close.
In the championship, it's rather less close now. 30 points the cushion Maclachlan has over Rod Arnold. Nathan Lindop third. Paul Begley fourth ahead of Rob Smith, and then Ian Forsyth. There's more great racing, though, coming up from Zolder here right after the break.